You've probably come across plenty of funny and amusing videos featuring animals, both domestic and more exotic. In such moments, it's easy to believe that nature is friendly, and you might even feel the urge to tame some cute little creature. However, no matter how often this happens, animals remain animals and sometimes reveal their darker side. In this video, we'll look at 20 cases of animal attacks on people who thought they were in a safe environment. In 2010, in the city of Omaha, Nebraska, police responded to a rather strange call. Upon arriving at a local residence, they discovered the lifeless body of 34-year-old Corey Byrne, a man passionate about breeding snakes, large snakes that clearly had no place in a home. One such snake was a 12-kilogram boa constrictor, which was still wrapped around the man's neck when law enforcement officers entered the house. It turned out that the snake's behavior was triggered when Corey began showing off his pet to a visiting friend. The friend, alarmed by the situation, called the police when the reptile started tightening its grip around the unlucky naturalist's neck. Dogs, even without special training, can also attack. Unfortunately, this was the fate of 42-year-old Mandy Kipp from Iowa. She owned 5 Great Danes, one of the largest and potentially aggressive dog breeds. While out on a walk with her 4-legged companions, Mandy suddenly became their enemy when they attacked her, inflicting fatal injuries. A man who discovered her body initially assumed that she had been in a motorcycle accident, but he quickly noticed the massive dogs roaming the area. Patricia Wyman, only 24 years old, landed a promising job in the spring of 1996 at the Halliburton Forest Reserve in Ontario, Canada. She was an aspiring young biologist hired at a wildlife center that was just about to open. Her initial task was to care for North American gray wolves that lived in near wild conditions and were not accustomed to human interaction, an effort to preserve their natural behavior. Despite the risks and warnings about the wolves' untamed nature, Patricia remained optimistic as she was passionate about her work. However, problems arose on her very first day, and within just 2 more days, it led to catastrophe. 6 wolves surrounded her while she was feeding them and viciously attacked, leaving her no chance of survival despite her weak resistance. The aggressive wolves, including the pack's alpha, were euthanized, and the center suffered significant reputational damage from the tragic incident. An ordinary retiree, Norman Bawalda from Canada, had a special passion for interacting with tigers, of which he owns several. His fascination had already led to an incident in 2004 when a 10-year-old child who had come to photograph his tigers was attacked. However, Norman managed to defend his right to keep the animals in court. 6 years later, in the winter of 2010, his tigers thanked him. His body was discovered inside the closure with multiple injuries. For a long time, the cause of his death remained unclear, but it was eventually revealed that he had violated safety protocols while feeding the tigers and was attacked when he entered the enclosure. Timothy Treadwell was an American naturalist and wildlife activist, best known for studying the life cycle of bears. For 13 consecutive summers, he spent time in Katami National Park in Alaska, closely observing and interacting with local grizzlies, despite the obvious dangers and repeated warnings from park rangers about his reckless behavior. However, in October 2003, 2 bears attacked Timothy and his girlfriend Amy's tents during their autumn visit to the park. Their bodies were later discovered by park rangers. Tragically, the horrifying event was captured on camera and the attacking bears were put down. This incident became the first fatal bear attack in the park in 85 years. Michael Prazek, a resident of the small Czech village of Zdechov, purchased a lion in 2016. Many people avoided him, but this did not concern him, and he soon acquired a lioness as well. He frequently took his so-called domesticated big cats to various places, allowing passers-by to interact with them. However, in the spring of 2019, Michael's father found his 33-year-old son's lifeless body inside the lion's enclosure. The exact circumstances of the tragedy remain unknown, as investigators could not determine why Michael had entered the cage that day. Regardless, once again, a predator revealed its true nature tragically ending the man's life with no chance of survival. St. James Davis, a race car driver in the NASCAR series, had an unusual hobby. In 1967, he and his wife LaDonna adopted a chimpanzee named Mo shortly after his birth in Tanzania. Mo became like a son to the couple, learning to use the shower, toilet, and even wear clothes. However, after multiple attacks on acquaintances in 1977, 1997, and 1998, the authorities decided to place Mo in a wildlife sanctuary. Though the Davises failed to win a legal battle to keep their exotic foster child, they continued visiting him, believing in the chimpanzee's intelligence. In 2005, however, their faith was shattered. During one of their visits, two young chimps suddenly appeared and attacked St. James, with one aiming directly at his face. The son of the sanctuary owner had to use a revolver against the aggressive primates, but the damage was already done. LaDonna lost a finger, and her husband was left permanently disfigured from the brutal assault. Cats can also attack their owners, though often only after their owners have passed away. A well-known case involved 74-year-old Herbert, who died of a heart attack at home, and his bedridden 96-year-old mother, who passed away soon after due to dehydration. The two had owned more than a dozen cats, and by the time neighbors grew concerned, only their skeletal remains were found in the house. Unfortunately, cats frequently resort to such behavior despite their attachment to their owners. In the suburbs of Pretoria, Leon van Biljon was known as the Lion Man. With years of experience, he had no fear of the 3 lions he had raised and even slept with them in the same enclosure, trusting them as his own children. Alongside this, he successfully built a business, a lodge where tourists could not only stay in a secluded location, but also interact with the lions or even play with them. Living his dream life, he decided in 2019 to sell the lodge to secure a comfortable retirement with his family. While preparing the property, he noticed a hole in the lion enclosure's fence and went to fix it. Unfortunately, Leon made a fatal mistake. As he approached the fence, he turned his back on the fully grown lions, whose instincts immediately commanded them to attack. With the same force they used to take down prey much larger than humans, one of the lions viciously bit and clawed at Leon, ending his life at the age of 70. However, despite their primal instincts, his 3 lions, realizing their owner was gone, could not bear the loss and followed Leon to the afterlife. Amanda Gray from Florida became the victim of her pet iguana, Igmo, who had lived with her for nearly half of her life. Problems in their relationship began when Amanda faced personal difficulties and increased stress, something her pet sensed, leading to more frequent aggressive behavior, scratching and biting her. One of the incidents was even caught on camera. During one of Igmo's attacks, Amanda suffered severe scratches across her face and nose. At that point, she made the difficult but necessary decision to part ways with Igmo before something worse happened, ultimately making her life much easier. Alexander Crispin was a well-known lion and tiger trainer, performing as part of a Mexican circus troupe. At numerous events, he demonstrated his ability to control powerful predators through words and actions. However, during a performance in 2013, this illusion of control was shattered. One of the troupe's tigers suddenly attacked Alexander, knocking him to the ground and aiming for his neck. Security rushed onto the stage almost immediately and managed to pull the tiger away while an ambulance was called. Unfortunately, the injuries were too severe, and Alexander, who has spent his career walking a fine line with danger, succumbed to hypovolemic shock caused by massive blood loss. Sergei Grigoriev, a 41-year-old resident of Ozersk, was an avid hunter. During one of his trips into the forest, he encountered a highly aggressive mother bear. Fearing for his safety, he shot and killed her, but decided to take in her cub as a pet. Those who knew Sergei believed the bear was tame, but they knew little of its true nature. On December 25, 2018, Grigoriev's relatives contacted the police after he had been out of touch for several days. What they discovered was shocking. On Sergey's property, they found the skeletal remains of both his two dogs and himself, while the bear roamed freely around the area. Unfortunately, the animal's aggression led to its own demise as well. When police arrived, they had to use their service weapons in self-defense. In pop culture, deer are often depicted as gentle and innocent creatures fearful of predators and content with a plant-based diet. While this is partly true, they can also be dangerous, especially during mating season. Texas businessman Gerald Rushton learned this the hard way when he kept a red deer on his ranch. Despite the species being one of the largest in the deer family, Rushton had no fear of it, just as he was comfortable with the other animals he had tamed. However, one day in 2010, disaster struck the 63-year-old man. While trying to move his 250-kilogram pet, Rushton was struck violently in the chest, causing him to fall and die instantly. The same fate soon befell the aggressive deer, as it refused to let anyone near its owner's body without a fight. In October 2011, the outskirts of Zanesville, Ohio were suddenly overrun by a swarm of exotic animals. These were the escaped pets of Terry Thompson, an eccentric Vietnam War veteran with substantial wealth and a long history of legal troubles, including reckless driving and illegal firearm possession. The freed animals attacked several neighboring homes, drawing police attention, and officers worked tirelessly to neutralize the threat, finally completing the operation by the following morning. Among the many bodies found was that of Thompson himself. Investigators discovered that he had intentionally released his collection and lured the predators, tigers, wolves, and other carnivores, toward him using raw chicken, whose bones were found nearby. While some believe this was a suicide linked to suspicions of infidelity from his wife, Thompson also had significant debts and a criminal past, raising speculations that the incident was a cover-up for a larger crime. The worst part? Authorities could have stopped him earlier due to his reckless handling of animals, but at the time of his first arrest in 2008, Ohio had no laws prohibiting private ownership of exotic wildlife. Cassowaries, large and vividly colored birds from Papua New Guinea, are often considered the most dangerous birds on Earth. Their speed and powerful legs, equipped with thick, razor-sharp claws, allow them to strike with the force of knives or steel bars. Despite their fearsome reputation, Florida poultry farmer Marvin Hayhost did not fear keeping several cassowaries on his property, valuing their exotic nature and trusting in his experience to stay safe. However, in 2019, during a routine feeding, the 75-year-old Hayhost lost his footing, triggering the cassowary's instinct for self-defense. The bird delivered devastating injuries. Though Hayhost managed to call for an ambulance, he succumbed to his wounds shortly after being hospitalized. This kind of fatal encounter is not uncommon. Cassowaries are known for their intolerance of humans invading their personal space. The Guerrero family, Brenda and Ishmael, who lived in Tampa, Florida, once adopted a dog from a shelter and named it Scarface. The brutal-sounding name was fitting, as the dog was a Pitbull, one of the most formidable and potentially dangerous breeds. For a long time, Scarface showed no signs of aggression. However, one day, as Brenda was trying to put a sweater on the dog, he suddenly flew into a violent rage and attacked her, seemingly triggered by the discomfort. Hearing the commotion, Ishmael rushed to her aid, followed shortly by their son. Even with all three of them trying to subdue the muscular canine, they failed. Not even a police taser could stop him. Officers arriving at the scene had to resort to a tranquilizer. After evaluation, Scarface was deemed too dangerous for society and was euthanized. Meanwhile, Brenda, who suffered the worst injuries from the attack, had to undergo lengthy and expensive treatment for her wounds. Many animals dislike being filmed. It seems the predator wanted to either investigate or taste it. Cynthia Lee Gamble spent much of her life working with wild animals, many of which were significantly larger than she was. She used her experience to create educational content, participate in interviews, and run a business centered around her own troop of animals. Though this career brought her fame, it also led to her demise. In April 2006, while attempting to clean the enclosure of her Bengal tiger, Cynthia suffered a fatal attack. She had forgotten to close one of the gates, allowing the tiger to enter. Fortunately, a nearby wildlife sanctuary specialized in handling aggressive, heavy predators, but by the time help arrived, it was too late. Sadly, the tiger that attacked Cynthia was also euthanized, as it was deemed uncontrollable and posed a significant risk to the ongoing investigation. One of the greatest mistakes a tiger owner can make is allowing the animal into their home, even if they are convinced of their pet's good nature. The moment a predator's instincts take over, a person can be doomed. Seemingly minor errors can turn fatal in reality.
Have you also noticed that our time together flies at the speed of light? We can't wait to see you in our next episode. See you soon.